Thanks for joining us at Learnwake today. My name is Brandon Judd, and I'm responding to a video analysis request uploaded by Sam on his switch toe side front side on axis 720. In his description here, Sam says, I've tried so many of these in the past few weeks and I can't land them. Pretty simple, looking for some help on what is going wrong, and it seems like it's the same thing consistently. So, first of all, hi Sam. I remember you from the wakeboard camp, and really glad to see you on here working on these awesome tricks. It looks like you've progressed a ton. This is really, really good looking. It really is. You're really close, and I think once we correct this axis issue, I think you'll be landing these super consistently in no time. So, again, thanks for uploading, and hopefully I can help guide you to getting over that thing that you're stuck on. So, right now, very directly, it's this axis that you're starting out on. If you'll notice, your shoulders are closer to your takeoff wake than your hips, and your hips are um, setting your axis for you when you kind of tilt your shoulders like this, and you're going to stay at this angle all the way until you land. So if we look at this and go back a little further, you'll see that as soon as you finish taking off, this angle that you're at, you kind of just kick right into the spin and you stay tilted um, to that direction pretty hard. And just, it's really subtle, but just that little bit of tilt means if you watch, that axis is still tilted. It should be tilted away from the boat pretty much up and down. But it's still tilted, still tilted, still tilted, still tilted, so that when you go to land, you're landing over your heels, kind of strung out. Um, it's and this one in particular is compounded with that tilting axis. And you finishing, I really like how you finish these with your chest and shoulders kind of over the tail, facing away from the boat, so you don't over rotate. But it's almost too good to the point where it you get kind of strung out, and your shoulders stay on this side of your hips. If I was to correct this, I'd bring your hips closer to the handle and your shoulder closer to the shoreline. And if those are in alignment here, then the rope can't pull you back out of it or pull you over your heels like it does here. Um, and you just can't regain control. Um, so it's kind of compounded by the two of those things, but the main thing is that axis. And then when you land, it's totally okay when you land to try and take your shoulders and chest and kind of, instead of looking this way toward the trees, I mean, I know you're looking down, but instead of pointing your head and shoulders this way toward the trees, if you point them kind of down the path that the wake is making this direction, that'd be fine. You don't want to bring it out this way, the direction of the boat, because you'll over rotate. But you're just doing it too good, if that makes sense. You're doing it too proper, and I think tilting your chest over your toes and almost kind of favoring over rotation, because you're right now you're favoring under rotation. But that's being nitpicky. I think your axis, honestly, once you correct your axis, you're going to be landing these every time because you're just going to self fix it. You're good enough to be able to do that. So let's take a look at another 720. This one is Daniel Powers a while back doing a toe side front side 720. And forgive the frame blending. This is an older video here on YouTube from Mitch Bergsma. He's got a YouTube channel that has a lot of these, which are nice. So if you look as he takes off the wake, he's a lot more upright with his chest, just right off the bat. Yeah, his board's kind of in front of him like that, but his shoulders and his hips are really upright. Even through there, if you look where his hips are and his shoulders are, his spine is pretty upright. He's still a little tilted that way, but that's just to kind of keep it on axis. And he can get away with a little bit of it being kind of tilted that way. And then when he goes around to land, you'll see he's pretty upright. It almost gets less and less as he goes. And then he lands pretty well straight up and down. Um, but again, if he were any further over his heels, he would slip out here. So he kind of flirts with it, but because he's done them so many times, he's really comfortable finding that position. So for you, you almost have to err on the side of leaning too much over your toes on the landing. So try and overcompensate, and you'll find the middle. Um, to give you an example, this one is an off-axis 720, so it's not identical, but this is of Anthony Hollick. This is his toe side front side off-axis 720, and um, the way that he takes off with his chest, he'll kind of throw his chest, trip his chest forward into it. And I know yours is on axis, and you could easily do an off axis one. I think they're a little easier, but um, this just shows you something. So this will show you a principle here um, about how he takes off. So he takes off and trips his chest forward, and then he tilts his body this way. So opposite of yours. Yours was shoulder was close to your takeoff, um, closer to your takeoff than your hips. And your on this off-axis one, your shoulders get pitched forward. And what it does when you get pitched forward is this encourages you to land over your toes easier. Um, so you'll watch that as this finishes, it will straighten back around, and the spin kind of throws him over his toes. Uh, so that's the difference there. When you're on axis, you have a very, very small window here um, that you have to set your axis, and that axis has to be set properly. That's why on axis spins are tough. Um, so with Daniel here, you'll see he doesn't necessarily like pitch forward, but he doesn't stay back, kind of whip his shoulders into it and stay with his chest too far back. Like his hips are still under him pretty good. And then if you look at yours, you'll watch how right when you take off, your shoulder opens up and you kind of throw your shoulders this way a little bit. It's really subtle, but just that little bit right here where you're kind of aggressively starting to spin with your shoulders, it looks like you're just wanting to get after it fast so you don't under rotate. You want to make sure you get all those rotations in. And by doing that with your chest, it helps you kind of wind up into the rotation, but it sets your axis a little early, and it throws your axis onto this tilt that is going to be toward like chest toward your landing when you land. So, and that's what keeps you from finishing landing with your chest here instead of over here. So, long explanation for a short answer. It's you just want to wait a little longer until you set your axis. You want to come almost forward a little more, be more upright, and don't throw your chest out into the spin as much. You'll see that as soon as you come off the wake, your board is behind your shoulders. Your shoulders are further ahead of the rotation than your board. And then if you look at Daniel's, you'll notice that his board gets further ahead of the rotation than his shoulders. Like his shoulders don't move until right there where his board is a little ahead of him. So if you look at where his shoulders are and then where his board is rotating quicker. So you just want to hold your shoulders back in the beginning. So we'll look at yours one more time just for clarification. So right now you kind of hold your board back and you start going with your shoulders. So if you look at your shoulders here, those are further into the spin than your board is. And just that subtle difference is going to set your axis a little crooked here. So hopefully that makes sense to you, Sam. Good luck with this. I think you're on the right track. Again, some very subtle changes. I mean, it's really good. It's just that subtle axis setting in the beginning that is keeping you on your heels when you land. Um, so hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions, work on it, improve it a bit. Submit another video. We'll see what's going on, and maybe some other habit creeps into this. But I'm pretty confident that once you sort that out, you'll just be landing these really consistently. So thanks again.